clomp, clomp. Every time I walk, there's always a loud sound. Since I was young, I've suffered from a condition where one leg is longer than the other, known as hemihypertrophy. Because the leg length discrepancy had to be corrected, I always had to wear a bulky orthotic device. I was always the last to move between classes at school, and instead of walking with friends, my mom always had to drive me to and from school. Even though everyone else seemed to be having a lot of fun, I couldn't join in. The number of times I've clenched my teeth in frustration was too many to count. Fortunately, the treatment went well, and I was able to get rid of the device in middle school, but the bullying I faced in elementary school left me introverted. Until I became an adult, I lacked confidence in myself and was terrible at talking to people. But a turning point for me came. I was the sort of person who was always nervous and was bad at speaking, so it was unexpected that I was assigned to the sales department. With the help of my senior colleagues, I gradually started to enjoy conversing with people and began to gain confidence in myself. Then, one day, I received an invitation to an elementary school reunion. Feeling more positive, I decided to take the plunge and attend the reunion. I sent an email to the organizer and let him know that I was coming. My name is Michael. I'm 27 years old, working for an IT company. I moved from my hometown to New York and haven't been back home for a while. I was really looking forward to this reunion in my hometown, and uncharacteristically, I even bought new clothes for it. I knew it was just silly pride, but I wanted to show everyone how much I'd changed. This feeling most likely stemmed from my old inferiority complex, and I was well aware of that. But the fact that I wanted to surprise everyone was an enormous step for me, and a sign of my growing self-confidence. On the day of the reunion, full of determination, I headed back to my hometown. The hometown I hadn't seen for a while was bustling with life, especially at night. Was it always this lively? I was slightly surprised to see the town had changed. I walked towards the reunion venue, occasionally checking my phone for the exact location of it. Entering the pub, which was the venue, I noticed it was already full of my old classmates. Although they were all my classmates, I only knew them from school. It had been over 10 years since I last saw them. Few faces looked familiar, but even my own memories were vague. Is that him? Could she be? As I made my way through, someone suddenly tapped me on the shoulder from behind. Michael, right. Long time no see. I heard you moved to New York. How have you been? As if that was a signal, everyone turned around, and I was quickly surrounded. There were those who were unrecognizable with the glasses on, those who had grown taller or put on weight, and even some who were already concerned about thinning hair. Every face was filled with nostalgia and warmth. No one mocked me. In fact, most people I spoke to had something kind to say, and even if it was just flattery, I felt elated. They said that I became cheerful, that I looked totally different. Some even called me handsome and said I looked cool. I was flattered by all the compliments, except for the last one, which to me sounded like an old insult. For someone who used to be called nerdy and introverted, I was doing well and now part of everyone's circle. I believe it was because of the experiences and confidence I gained in the workplace. Trying to maintain my composure, I was actually overwhelmed with happiness. Of course, it wasn't just the guys. A big part of why I felt so good was because even the girls started to see me in a new light. Back in elementary school, I was quiet, keeping a low profile in class, so being surrounded by so many girls made me feel like I was in a dream. I wish I could show this to my younger self. That was what I thought to myself several times since arriving at the venue. Holding a pint of beer in my hand, I was happy to reconnect with familiar faces. But honestly, there was one girl I especially wanted to see at this reunion. Her name was Ashley, a girl who was the belle of our class. With her wide eyes and silky hair, she was a very pretty girl and looked like someone you'd see on TV. Moreover, she was calm and kind, and treated everyone the same way. During my school years, she was always on my mind. She was the only person who cared about me and came to talk to me as I had no friends. Her kindness kept me from becoming chronically absent from school, and gradually, the bullying towards me lessened because of her. To me, she was nothing short of a lifesaver. I wanted to see Ashley again, so I could express my gratitude for her kindness. I casually looked around, desperately searching for her. Amongst the high-pitched voices of women exclaiming, "Long time no see, and what have you been up to?" I heard someone call out, "Ashley." I turned around in a hurry, and there, among a group of girls, stood a woman in a navy dress with her elegant back facing me. Judging by the familiar silhouette, I thought it must be Ashley. Even from behind, her aura was distinctly different from the others. I caught my breath, hesitating to approach and speak to her. Then suddenly, she flipped her hair and turned around. It was Ashley, no doubt about it. She had maintained her youthful features, and if anything, had grown into an even more refined and beautiful woman. "Michael, Ashley, long time no see." I walked up to her, and I stood face to face with Ashley. But standing in front of her, I felt a sense of discomfort. Although hidden by her hair, I could see scars from burns stretching from her face down her neck. They extended to her hand holding a glass of wine, significantly marring her once perfect appearance. She must have been in some kind of accident since we last saw each other. Trying not to stare at her scars and hoping Ashley didn't notice, I forced a wide smile, and Ashley responded gently, "It's been a while, have you been well?" I could tell she knew what others thought of her physical condition. Yet, her attitude of enduring and accepting the curious stares was admirable, and she was the same Ashley I had fallen for back then. I can't believe she came to the reunion looking like that. She looks like a monster, so creepy. I couldn't bear it if I were her. Cruel whispers reached my ears from behind. Turning around, I saw a few girls speaking ill of Ashley in barely audible voices. Ashley, hearing them, remained composed and calm. She was probably used to such situations. I couldn't believe how cruel those girls were. They used to be her close friends back in the days. Were they feeling satisfied by Ashley's altered appearance? A pang of pain and rising anger welled up in me. How can you say such awful things? Ashley hasn't done anything wrong, has she? Don't pick on my fiancé, please. My protective instinct led me to say something outrageous. My fiancé. Wasn't there a better way to say it? Regretful, but it was too late. There was no turning back now. What? We weren't even talking to you. Why don't you leave us alone? The girls retorted dismissively, and then drifted away like the receding tide. Ashley, relieved to see them go, yet seemingly apologetic for causing me trouble, looked at me with an indescribable expression. She looked sad, frustrated, and embarrassed. Seeing her like this made me feel uneasy. "Let's step outside for some fresh air." Ashley looked up and whispered in a voice so soft that no one else could hear. I thought it was a good idea. I nodded silently, and we both slipped away from the reunion. Once outside the pub, under the cold winter sky, the full moon seemed higher and more beautiful than usual. We found a park nearby and sat down on a bench together. Every now and then, a cold breeze blew, and I hurried to find a vending machine to buy 2 warm drinks. Ashley had been silent since we left the pub. Trying to change her mood, I brightly offered her a drink. "Here, would you like some warm coffee or cocoa?" She thanked me and chose a can of coffee, holding it in her hands to warm them without opening it. "Sorry about earlier. I went too far. I just wanted to shut them up, so I impulsively called you my fiancé. I didn't even understand why I called her like that." Being in an unfamiliar situation might have made me feel more tipsy than I thought. As I was puzzled, Ashley finally looked up. "Michael, you really surprised me. We haven't seen each other in over 10 years, and suddenly we're engaged. But I was happy you defended me against the backstabbing. Thank you, really," Ashley said, smiling brightly. I was expecting to be scolded, but instead, she thanked me and smiled happily. I was even more confused, but her kindness was just like it was back in elementary school. Always cheerful, considerate, and not taking things negatively. Her unchanged strong spirit reassured me, and I wanted to know what happened to her. Sensing my thoughts, Ashley began to speak hesitantly. "Michael, I need to tell you about my scars. A few years ago, the cafeteria where I worked caught fire, and I got these injuries then." She brushed her hair aside, showing me the scars. She explained that there were more scars hidden under her clothes. Even in the dim moonlight, I could see them clearly, and I almost wanted to look away. In that fire, a senior co-worker who tried to protect me died. As the building collapsed, she shielded me with her body and got me out. Ashley tearfully spoke about that time. She said she'd still dream about the fire, waking up from nightmares and not being able to sleep afterward. "Every time I see my scars, I remember the fire vividly. I used to be afraid of people seeing them, but now I'm just grateful to be alive. I have to live strongly for the person who protected me from the fire. It's only recently that I've started to think positively about what happened." I didn't know what to say. Despite the misfortune, she was living with such determination. When I was teased and mocked for my disability, I was always thinking negatively about myself. But Ashley was moving forward, trying her best to face reality. "Ashley, you're an amazing person, just like you were back then." I spontaneously expressed my feelings. "In elementary school, your willingness to treat me normally encouraged me. I thought I could repay you today, but I guess I still have a long way to go." As I said this, Ashley suddenly burst into tears. "What have I done?" I hurriedly offered her a handkerchief. "I'm sorry for crying all of a sudden. Even though I try to think positively, sometimes I wish I could go back to my old self. So when you said I hadn't changed, it made me so happy." "Thank you," Ashley said, smiling through her tears. Her face, now calm, was as bright and cheerful as I remembered from the past. I felt relieved and reflected on my own past. Me, wearing an orthotic device, limping as I walked. Ashley would carry my textbooks and bring me school lunch. During lunch breaks, as I couldn't play outside running around with others, she would stay with me indoors, sometimes just the two of us, playing games. "It will surely get better." Ashley was the only one who ever said such things about my leg. Even when I was cynical and sullen, she encouraged me, telling me about the places we could go to once my leg treatment was over. Ashley was always there for me, offering encouragement and support. She was the reason why I'd been able to avoid pessimism and make it this far in life. Now, it was my turn. I wanted to be the one to support Ashley, like she did to me years ago. I made up my mind. "Hey, Ashley, if you're okay, would you like to go out for a meal sometime? I'd really like to see you again." To be honest, I'd never asked a woman out before. But I had nothing to lose. I thought I should just express all my feelings towards her. "Are you sure you're okay to go out with someone with big scars? Wouldn't you rather ask out someone pretty?" Her response could be taken as a no. But for me, it was more than enough. I responded, "It's fine, I'm free all the time anyway," revealing my lack of dating experience, and Ashley chuckled. Seeing Ashley laugh out loud for the first time in a while filled me with joy. After that, we started seeing each other more often. Surprisingly, Ashley had also moved to New York and was working while saving up for skin regeneration treatment. Our dates were simple, often just eating the lunch Ashley made in the park. We couldn't afford to go to expensive places, but seeing Ashley's modest and diligent side just made me happy. We were drawn to each other and naturally started dating. The incident at the reunion, and also the fact that we came from the same town, played a big part, but we never explicitly said let's be together or directly expressed our feelings. It just became natural for us to spend time together. The reason why I became aware of how our relationship was progressing was that I started to seriously think about marriage. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Ashley. No matter what, I wanted to be there for her, who always brightened my life with her cheerfulness. Also, from a financial perspective, it made more sense to live together rather than separately. That was how I came to think about our future. And then it suddenly hit me. I hadn't even told her about my feelings for her. I was pretty sure we were in a relationship, but I'd never directly said I love you, and I also wondered how Ashley felt about me. This sudden insecurity overwhelmed me. Given that this was my first ever relationship, I didn't really know how to deal with my feelings. But I needed to find out if Ashley and I were on the same page. One weekend, as usual, I was waiting for Ashley in the park when she appeared, slightly flustered, as if she thought she was late. "Sorry I was late," Ashley apologized, and I told her that she wasn't late at all and that I arrived early. "Hey, how about we go somewhere else for a change? Maybe to a department store or something." "What? But I made lunch for us," Ashley replied, surprised by my suggestion, opening her bag to show me the sandwiches in a plastic container and soft drinks. As I suggested we eat the lunch on the rooftop of the department store, Ashley sensed the unusual atmosphere and became tense, asking, "What's going on? Why the sudden change?" I scratched my head, took a deep breath, and confessed, "I want to get you a ring. It would look cool if I knelt down and pulled out a ring, but I have never been to a jewelry shop and don't even know what size of ring I have to get for you. I apologize, everything seems to be out of order, but I want to marry you, Ashley. Right now, I want to go to the department store to buy a ring for a proposal." When I finished with what I wanted to say, Ashley froze, her mouth agape, then suddenly started laughing. I knew it was awkward and deserved the laughter. But seeing Ashley laugh through her tears, I gradually became annoyed. I was about to say, "Stop laughing," when I realized Ashley was actually crying. "Crying while laughing," she said, "too late." For a moment, I didn't understand what she meant. "You already said I was your fiancé." As soon as I heard those words, I instantly calmed down and apologized, "Sorry to keep you waiting." After that, we officially became husband and wife and started living together. With our finances more stable, I was able to get Ashley several surgeries. Thanks to her enduring the tough treatments, the scars from her burns have become much less noticeable. "Now I can finally wear a wedding dress," she said with a smile. Every time I see Ashley's happy smile, I feel truly fortunate to have met her. "I think we need to break up," she said suddenly. I was stunned by her unexpected words. In my right hand, I was holding a diamond ring, and she was looking bitterly at it. "What do you mean by breaking up, Emma? You told me you wanted to marry me. That's why I'm so sorry. I've fallen for someone else. I'm very sure that you'll find someone better than me, and someone who deserves that ring more than I do." I felt like crying, but nothing came out. The girl who just broke up with me had tears brimming in her eyes and a pained expression on her face. "Goodbye." Her voice echoed into the distance. The alarm on my phone went off, and I woke up feeling tired. My name is Ryan. I got fired from my job last week. Lately, I keep having this dream. A dream where an old girlfriend of mine breaks up with me. It's been 10 years since that actually happened, and I thought I had moved on. Why now all of a sudden? Maybe because the fact that I was fired last week still hurts. When something bad happens, unpleasant memories come flooding back. Seriously, I can't believe there still are some companies that prohibit employees from working a second job. It was my fault, but anyway, that was why I got fired. For doing another job. But that was something I had to do, as it was like a passion for me. Well, what do? I went to a few employment agencies to sign up. After that, since I had some time in the afternoon, I went to my favorite cafe to eat pancakes and thought about a present for my girlfriend. Of course, not for the girl from the dream. Fortunately, I'd been blessed with a new girlfriend, and we'd been together for just over 3 years. Unlike when I was with Emma, this time I already got an answer to my proposal. I didn't want to be dumped at the very last minute like before. I noticed there was a new text message on my phone. I'll help you with the preparations tomorrow. I'll be there by 9 a.m. Love you. Reading the message, I smiled, remembering what my plan was for the next day. Okay, can't wait to see you. Love you too, I replied to the message, pulling myself together. The next day was her birthday, and also the day of my first solo exhibition. I rented space at an art gallery in a shopping district to display the jewelry I made. I started making jewelry in college as a way to relieve stress, but never expected it would reach the level where I could sell them online. Then that online business page was discovered by a colleague, and that was how my boss found out about my second job. Even though I lost my main job, I was making a decent income from my jewelry business, so I wasn't worried at all. I just never thought about making it my main job, but this exhibition might be a good opportunity to seriously consider that. With that thought, I felt even more motivated. The next day, when I arrived at the gallery, Sarah was already there, discussing with the person in charge and preparing for my exhibition. Ryan, you're late. Sorry, Sarah. I overslept a bit. I thought you were a morning person, Sarah said, her surprise making me feel guilty. I couldn't possibly tell her that I overslept because I had a dream about Emma. Just got lost in thought and stayed up late last night. Are you still worried about being fired? Yes, something like that. Don't worry about it. It is what it is. Now you can openly do what you love. To cheer me up, Sarah smiled warmly. For a moment, her smile reminded me of Emma's, which was making me feel uneasy. Wow, this ring is really pretty. Suddenly, while arranging the display items, Sarah spoke up. Following her gaze, I saw her looking at a diamond ring prominently displayed on the shelf. That ring brought back the painful memories of the past. That was the first ring I ever made. Really, it's so well made. It wasn't that hard, probably because I had been making other types of jewelry since my university days. Initially, I only made simple items like earrings and cufflinks for myself. It wasn't until I met my ex-girlfriend, Emma, that I started making jewelry with someone else in mind. I was seriously considering marriage with Emma. Wanting to gift her a ring, I began jewelry making in earnest. In the end, Emma never received the ring I made for her. I might want this one for an engagement ring. What? I froze at Sarah's words. The idea of giving my current girlfriend the ring I made for Emma felt so wrong. Although I loved Sarah very much, I kept dreaming about Emma. I still wondered why Emma looked so pained when she broke up with me. That thought made it impossible to forget her. We're running out of time. We need to finish setting up soon. True, Sarah's words brought me back to my senses. Having nearly finished arranging the display items, I also completed setting up the cash register. Looking at Sarah, I saw her again gazing at that ring. Was this the sort of ring Emma telling me about? I wonder. Sarah was only talking to herself. Muttering softly, Sarah noticed me standing silently and quickly came towards me. Wait, What did she just say? Was it just a coincidence, or did I hear it wrong? But either way, doubts began to surface in my mind. As the exhibition opened, many people, primarily my supporters on social media, gathered. The displayed jewelry sold quickly, and the ring Sarah liked also attracted lots of attention. Isn't that ring for sale? I'm sorry. This ring is for display only, and I have no intention of reproducing it. That's a shame. Each time I watched a customer leave, I thought about the dream I had the night before. When I decided to exhibit that ring, I thought that meant I had moved on from Emma. Yet since she appeared in my dream, all I could think about was her. Why can't I forget Emma? She dumped me after all. How much is this ring? It doesn't have a price tag. Another customer inquired about the ring, and Sarah, who was standing nearby, responded, I'm sorry, this is only for display and not for sale. It was made by Ryan for someone very special to him. We appreciate your understanding. She said politely to the customer. Did Sarah know about Emma and that the ring was originally intended for her? That fleeting thought from earlier returned. And for some reason, Sarah reminded me of Emma. Sarah, how did you know this ring was so special to me? Well, you always look so wistful when you look at it. There are other items that are not for sale, but it's obvious that this ring is something special, just by watching you, Ryan. Sarah answered, pouting, and seemed to be telling the truth. But why did she murmur her name earlier? Are you sure you're telling me everything? What do you mean? How did you know about Emma? What, Emma? You mean Emma, my cousin. How do you know about her? Your cousin. As we looked at each other in surprise, an elderly man approached and asked me, excuse me, how much is this ring? I was startled at first, but soon realized who that man was. Wait, this man is. He was Emma's father. As I visited her house several times when I was still going out with Emma, I knew her parents very well. Although I hadn't seen them since our breakup, and Emma's father had aged quite a bit, I knew straight away that it was definitely him. Oh, Sarah, Uncle James, what are you doing here? Before our surprise subsided, Emma's father and Sarah exchanged those words, surprising me even more. I needed to know what was going on, so I asked Emma's father if we could talk after the exhibition. He agreed to meet me at a nearby cafe. When our coffee arrived, Emma's father quietly lowered his eyes without drinking his. Emma passed away the other day. His words left me in utter shock, unable to comprehend. Sitting next to me, Sarah also widened her eyes, seemingly at a loss for words as well. What do you mean? What happened to Emma? My voice trembled as I finally managed to speak. She had a terminal illness. It started 10 years ago. The disease was already advanced when discovered, and the doctor told her that she wouldn't live long. That was why she broke up with you, lying about falling for someone else. I never thought Sarah would be dating you, Ryan. Was Emma suffering all this time, choosing to break up with me so as not to involve me in her struggle with illness? I recalled the pained expression on her face when she said goodbye to me, suddenly making sense of it. Yet, it still didn't feel real. Next to me, stunned, Sarah slowly began to speak. I knew Emma was sick, but I never knew it was that bad, and she passed away. She fought for 10 years, initially given only 6 months to live. We informed your parents, Sarah, but it seems the news hadn't reached you. Sarah silently shed tears, and both Emma's father and I quietly thought of her. After about 5 minutes of silence, as Sarah's tears subsided, I asked her, "So are you related to Emma?" "Yes, we are cousins. Our homes were far apart, and with her health condition, I didn't get to see her lately, but we used to be very close like sisters when we were young." "No wonder you somewhat resembled Emma." "Do you think so? Our relatives often say that too." "Yes, they did resemble each other." A while ago, Emma told me about her old boyfriend she was still in love with. He made a ring for her, but she had to break up with him because of her illness. and didn't get to receive the ring. I never thought you were that person, honey. When I saw that ring earlier, I just wondered if the ring Emma told me about looked similar to that. Maybe Sarah sensed something when she was gazing at that ring. I was thinking that when Emma's father looked at me apologetically. I came here today to ask you if I could borrow that ring to put in Emma's coffin. He showed me the flyer for my exhibition. Emma never stopped thinking about you. She followed your social media, even secretly buying your jewelry under a friend's name. When she saw a photo of the ring on this flyer, she cried, asking me to put it in her coffin when she died. Why didn't Emma tell me? Hearing her true feelings from her father meant a lot to me, and I finally understood why she had to break up with me. But at the same time, I had an overwhelming sense of guilt when I thought about Emma suffering on her own all those years, and I had no idea what was going on. As Sarah's tears finally eased, mine began to flow uncontrollably. When is Emma's funeral? It's scheduled for tomorrow. That's why I'm asking. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'd like to buy that ring off you. If that's not possible, could I borrow it so I could at least put it in her coffin during the funeral? I just want to fulfill her last wish. He looked at me earnestly. His beloved daughter passed away, and he came to see me the day before her funeral just to fulfill her last wish. I gripped Emma's father's hand firmly. Please take it with you. I made it for Emma anyway. Thank you. Tears spilled from his eyes as if something inside him had collapsed. The next day, Sarah and I took a taxi to the designated funeral home. I wonder if Emma will be happy with this ring. Of course, she will be. Sarah took my hand and squeezed it encouragingly as I voiced my uncertainty. In the inner pocket of my suit was the little case containing the ring. I was about to give it to Emma. Gripping her hand tightly, I finally reunited with Emma after 10 years. Long time no see. Emma, lying in the coffin, didn't say anything. Her body had become frail and thin, but her face hadn't changed since I last saw her. I brought you a ring today. Sorry for being late. From now on, this ring will stay by your side to protect you, so please, don't cry. I gently opened the ring case, and the diamond sparkled brightly inside. I took it out of the case and placed it in the coffin. Apparently, the ring couldn't be cremated with her. But Emma's father had negotiated with the funeral home to allow the ring to be placed in the coffin under the condition that it would be removed soon after the funeral. The funeral proceeded smoothly, and I was able to say my final goodbye to Emma. Emma is really gone. Yes, we won't see her ever again. Sarah, being Emma's relative, would be attending the cremation, but as a non-family member, I planned to call a taxi and leave. Sarah accompanied me to the taxi stand. Are you sure? Not staying until the end. I've already said goodbye to Emma, and I have to go home. There's something I need to do. What? Can you come to my place tomorrow? There's something I want to give you. She smiled softly, a bit nervously, at my words. Yes, I'd be happy to. In my home workshop, there's a ring I've been making for Sarah. Originally, I planned to finish it on the night of the exhibition and give it to her today. Just to make it clear, though I think you know, I've been making a ring for you, and I only thought of you while making it. It felt somewhat embarrassing to say it out loud. Whether she knew my thoughts or not, she didn't hide her joy and held my hand tightly until the taxi arrived. As the taxi drove away, the scenery outside the window grew distant. Goodbye, Emma. I wondered if she had ascended to heaven peacefully. For a moment, I became worried, but then I felt certain she was fine. Looking up at the blue sky above the smoke rising from the crematorium, I finally remembered Emma's beautiful smile, not the sad look from my dreams. Come on, Jacob, make sure you give a proper greeting to the board members, all right, in French. Tyler said this to me without even making eye contact. In front of the board members who came to inspect our department, Tyler was forcing me to greet them in French. It was easy to imagine that he was trying to embarrass me, knowing that I only had a middle school education. Come on, Give it a try. Even middle school level French might get through if you're lucky. He patted my shoulder, urging me on. Tyler was under the mistaken impression that I couldn't speak French. If I really couldn't speak French, I would likely end up having a childish and clumsy conversation. As a result, I would become the laughingstock, just as Tyler intended. But unfortunately for him, the world doesn't always work the way you want it to, Tyler. Then, I opened my mouth. The beginning of Tyler's hell. My name is Jacob. Just a regular guy. I think of myself as just an average man, embarrassingly ordinary compared to others. If I had to say, my only distinguishing feature is my love for traveling. Alone, at that. It's not that I don't have friends, but when it comes to traveling, I prefer going solo. I get to fully enjoy my favorite places and foods, and there's a certain luxury in the moments that can only be experienced alone. That's the real joy of travel for me. Because of my love for travel, I used to go on whirlwind trips a lot during my student days. I didn't have much money, so I used things like youth travel passes, which made the trips somewhat restrictive, but they made me feel alive, and I loved them. I haven't been able to go on such trips lately due to my busy job, but I'm thinking of going again once things settle down. In my mind, I'm always fantasizing about where to go next, what to eat, and so on. I currently work at a global company. It has branches all over the world and is quite large. The employees are not just American, but also foreigners. Everyone can speak English well enough for communication, so there are no issues in the office. Although my days are busy, talking with people from other countries provides a stimulating experience. Talking to them makes me even more eager to travel, fueling my fantasies. I was fortunate to have many good peers, seniors, and juniors, but there was one troublesome guy. The department manager, Tyler. This man was quite a character. Out of all the people in this international company, I had the bad luck of having an American boss who was such an oddball. Did I do something in a past life? Me. Tyler boasts about graduating from Oxford University in the United Kingdom, constantly flaunting his educational background. But just to be clear, his Oxford claim is self-proclaimed. Self-proclaimed. Such a Tyler is an elitist who belittles others based on their educational background. Unfortunately for me, I was excluded from Tyler's selection and was deemed someone to be looked down upon. He would often say, "Jacob's education level is low, so I wonder if it's safe to assign him such difficult tasks. I'm worried. Low education, you know." He would mutter this to himself, even when nobody asked. This monologue would continue until someone responded. "Well, don't worry about education and just give me the task. I'll work on it with you," said Olivia, my colleague. She graduated from a famous national university, so she wasn't looked down upon by Tyler. She always responded properly to Tyler's monologues, cutting short his discriminatory remarks towards me. "If you say so, I guess I'll leave it to you. Make sure you keep an eye on him, okay? He's a middle school dropout, so you never know what he might do." He spoke in a low voice. "I can hear you." With that, she casually said yes and returned to his desk. Once back at his desk, he said, "Well then, good luck with that, Jacob." While saying this, Tyler was vigorously wiping his ear with a disinfectant wipe, the one he had just used to talk to. Without showing any signs of disgust, he was wiping his ear as casually as one would wipe their hands before a meal. There may be no ill will, but from a guy's perspective, such actions by women can be quite unsettling. I've been enduring Tyler's persistent harassment with an adult's response, though inwardly I find it annoying. Tyler seems increasingly displeased with my lack of negative reaction. Then, there was an announcement about a company inspection. It's rare, but once every few years, board members from the headquarters come to observe the work environment. They do more than just observe. Sometimes they conduct interviews and later send feedback for improvement. It's not exactly unannounced, but the notice usually comes suddenly, like we're coming tomorrow, so be ready, leaving no time to prepare. That should be the case, but Tyler was different. I completely forgot that he's not the normal type. I thought that even if he pretends for a day, his true colors would quickly show, but Tyler was desperately trying to coat everything with a veneer. Hey, make sure you wipe everything down. Don't leave a single piece of trash. Finish this paperwork by today. If we have unfinished work, they'll think our department is slow. He was shouting things like that. Then, he pushed his own work onto his subordinates and sat back in his chair. Hey Jacob, you do this data entry, it's due today. He threw a thick pile of documents onto my desk. Even with your low education, you should be able to handle this much. Don't drag me down. Tyler must be desperate to make a good impression on the board members, acting like a capable manager to advance his career. He probably wants to clear all the piled-up work by today to show them a department that works quickly. Despite having our own work, we're forced to prioritize Tyler's tasks, so we'll probably end up working overtime today. Ideally, I wouldn't want to do Tyler's work, but if I neglect it, who knows what he'll do later. It's better to quietly follow his instructions to avoid trouble. On the day of the inspection, one after another, company executives like the president and vice presidents gathered. Our company employs talented individuals regardless of their nationality, so the upper echelon includes people from various countries. Even I was nervous in front of such a distinguished crowd. Tyler, especially eager for promotion, was hiding his usual arrogance and being obsequious. Watching him, I muttered under my breath, he's a different person today. Olivia, standing next to me, tried to suppress her laughter. It seems she heard my muttered comment. Sorry, did you hear that? Trying to hide it. I heard it clear as day. Jacob, you sometimes say funny things under your breath, don't you? Olivia said with a smile. Yeah, I think Olivia laughed too much, though. But well, it's true that Tyler seems like a completely different person today. Has his personality been replaced or something? I agree with what Olivia says. It's frightening how much people can change, driven by their desires. As the board members were let in, one of them saw me and said, "Isn't that Jacob?" The man, Michael, with a meticulously groomed, eccentric beard resembling Dolly's, was an older gentleman. Michael was a friend of my father and had helped me get this job. By the way, Michael holds a division chief position at the headquarters. It's been since you joined, hasn't it? How have you been? Honestly, there have been too many changes, almost overwhelming. But I didn't want to burden Michael, who was talking cheerfully, with my troubles. Of course, I'm thriving every day, all thanks to you, Michael. I really appreciate it. There's no need to be so formal. It's true that I introduced you here, but all the achievements from then on are due to your own abilities," he said, gently patting my shoulder. "You might be working at the headquarters soon if you keep this up." I started to feel embarrassed from such high praise. "Oh, I'm still far from it," I responded maturely to Michael's words. "There's no need to be modest. You agree, don't you?" He turned to Olivia. As Olivia was smiling in response, Tyler loudly announced the start of the morning assembly. It seemed like he was trying to interrupt our conversation. "I'll see you later," said Michael as he walked away from us. Tyler quickly seized the opportunity to confront me. "What are you getting cocky about, you middle school dropout?" I stood there, clueless about what he meant. That was Michael, the division chief, wasn't it? "Listen, no matter how much you try to show off, it's pointless. If you get too carried away, I'll make sure you regret it," he warned. So, he saw me chatting with Michael and thought I was trying to ingratiate myself with the board. I wish he wouldn't lump me in with himself. I brushed off Tyler's comment and returned to my seat. The morning assembly began, and Tyler loudly greeted the board members. Every employee in this department is excellent, and I have fulfilling days thanks to them. Among these talented individuals, Jacob here is particularly outstanding, he said, grinning at me. What was he up to? Praising me in front of the board seemed too strange. Despite being a middle school graduate, Jacob works shoulder to shoulder with us. He said in a way that was unclear whether it was praise or ridicule. No, it was definitely ridicule. Michael nodded in approval. No, Michael, I'm being disparaged. Jacob has expressed a desire to give a speech in front of the board members. Of course, I had said no such thing. So that was his plan. Rest assured, the speech will be entirely in French. He added, probably thinking I couldn't speak French. It was easy to imagine he wanted to embarrass me with my poor French in front of the international audience. This must be retaliation for my earlier conversation with Michael. The executives encouraged me to speak, saying, all right, let's hear it. It was a bit disappointing that Tyler had started harassing me in front of everyone. I never thought someone would go to such lengths just out of sheer jealousy. I could reluctantly accept someone exaggerating their own worth to some extent. But in my opinion, anyone who can only elevate their value by lowering others is honestly worthless. This was an opportunity Tyler had unwittingly given me. I thought to myself that I should make the most of it and repay Tyler for everything he had done. First, I introduced myself in English in front of the board. Then, as Tyler wished, I started speaking in French. Tyler was visibly shocked to hear me speaking fluently. His gaping mouth looked so comical that I almost laughed. Olivia seemed to have given up trying to hold back her laughter, her shoulders shaking with silent chickles. The stark contrast between Tyler's and Olivia's reactions was so extreme that I couldn't help but feel amused myself. As I mentioned before, our company has a global presence, so the board members have diverse roots and origins. The vice president is from Spain, the managing director from France, and Michael, the division chief, I believe has Italian roots. While recalling the board members' countries and roots, I continued my speech, seamlessly switching between languages as appropriate. I fluidly transitioned from French to Spanish, then to Italian, and so on. I hadn't planned the content of my speech since Tyler sprung it on me suddenly, but I felt obliged to meet his expectations. To keep the conversation going, I exposed the mistreatment I had received from Tyler in various languages. I candidly revealed the hardships he had inflicted on his subordinates. I talked about how he boasted about being an Oxford graduate and his arrogant behavior towards subordinates with lower educational backgrounds. Being berated for being incompetent simply because of a lower educational level. The fact that I had been subjected to such treatment. And how Tyler, under the mistaken belief that I couldn't speak French due to my middle school education, had set up this speech to embarrass me in front of the board members. I revealed all these details. As I continued my speech, the expressions on the board members' faces gradually turned more perplexed. I delivered the speech in multiple languages, and as expected from such accomplished individuals, they seemed to understand the meanings even in foreign languages. Tyler, on the other hand, appeared to only understand French. He seemed to follow the speech initially, but as I switched languages, he was clearly lost. Unable to keep up, he looked around bewildered. I finished my speech. The board members were whispering among themselves. Behind me, Olivia was holding her stomach, laughing. It seemed she had understood the content of my speech. When our eyes met, she gave me a thumbs up and mouthed good job. Michael approached Tyler with a furrowed brow. Is what Jacob just said true? He asked, his voice laden with authority. However, the person in question, Tyler, didn't understand what I had said. Muttering a "well," he became flustered and was unable to respond to Michael. Meanwhile, Olivia raised her hand from behind the board members. "Jess, you're the girl from earlier. What is it?" Michael asked. With a bright smile, Olivia replied energetically. "What Jacob said is true. Everything about Tyler belittling others based on their education and his harassment is all true," she said. Hearing this, Tyler glared at Olivia, saying, "Don't make up such baseless accusations in front of the board members." Usually, Olivia would back down quickly, but not this time. She stood her ground, dignified as if it were her final battle. "I'm not making this up. Jacob spoke in French, Spanish, Italian, and German, right? Tyler, did you not understand? You always mock others for their education, but it's strange, isn't it? You always say you were excellent at Oxford," she retorted, taunting him. Tyler, his face red with anger, yelled at Olivia, "Shut up! Shut up!" Amidst the commotion, President Thompson said quietly, "That's enough." His few words, filled with more than just anger, were enough to command the room. But it seemed to have no effect on the foolish Tyler. "Don't believe what these mere employees say. It's clear that I contribute more to the company." He appealed directly to President Thompson. "These people are framing me. It's impossible for this middle school graduate to speak languages other than English. He must be bluffing, just making it sound convincing," Tyler ranted, insulting me crudely. "Keep your filthy mouth shut for once, Tyler." Executive Director Elizabeth glared at him. "I'm not saying I believe everything he said, but the more you talk, Tyler, the more credible his words seem. Am I the only one who thinks so?" she observed. Michael then spoke up. "I'm quite familiar with Jacob. He has stayed in various countries since he was young, so it's not surprising that he can use different languages. I am of mixed heritage. My father is American, and my mother is half French and half American. My maternal grandfather immigrated from Eastern Europe to France. Though I'm a quarter American, I look like a typical American and have rarely been recognized as mixed race at first glance. My father, a senior figure in a trading company, frequently traveled abroad for work, even as a regular employee, and often rented residences overseas. He met my mother through his work, and they married, leading to my birth. At home, we used both French and English. I was born in America but spent my early years traveling to various countries due to my father's job. I spent my middle school years in America, then moved to France, where I attended University PSL in Paris. Since I was only in America until middle school, my final educational qualification there was junior high school. When Tyler heard that I had attended University PSL, he turned pale. University PSL is a renowned university in France, known for its extremely high entry standards. However, I've always believed that educational background isn't everything. There are more important things than academic credentials, and in a society that needs to constantly progress, flaunting decades-old achievements seems utterly pointless to me. I've always said that what matters more than where you graduated from is what results you produce in the future, I often retorted when Tyler treated me as incompetent. But to Tyler, my words, coming from a middle school graduate, never seemed to register, dismissed as mere sour grapes. In reality, being a graduate of a globally renowned university meant Tyler could no longer ignore what I said. I wondered if I had done something wrong. Tyler, who had been ranting and raving until a moment ago, now seemed deflated and subdued, his only identity of being a high achiever seemingly invalidated. Michael continued his pursuit of Tyler. "Tyler, your educational background is indeed impressive. However, using it as a shield to compare yourself to others and assert your superiority is foolish. Truly wise people don't judge others by their educational background but by their character. In that respect, I'm afraid you're acting foolishly." Tyler opened his mouth to retort but seemed unable to find the words and closed it again. He appeared very frustrated, his tightly clenched fists trembling. "All you've treasured seems to be just past glories," said Elizabeth, looking over a pile of documents. "An Oxford graduate in name only, dumping your work on subordinates, imposing unreasonable targets. What exactly have you learned since joining this company? It seems the real incompetent one here is you." Tyler exclaimed, "That's absurd. I was just wishing for the growth of my subordinates." He tried to justify. Trying to appear innocent now seemed embarrassingly insincere. This inspection was also part of selecting members for a major upcoming project. Michael approached Tyler and said, "Your name was among the candidates, but after today's events, you will no longer be participating in the project." Tyler pleaded tearfully. "Wait, please, I've worked hard for this company. Maybe I went too far in my training methods, but..." Before he could continue, President Thompson intervened. "Stop devaluing yourself. Acknowledging your faults and changing your behavior is the best contribution you can make to our company now. Don't you think?" Tyler was admonished for his behavior towards his subordinates and warned that further actions might lead to more severe consequences. He quietly listened to the board members discuss his future. The inspection was temporarily suspended. It was impossible to start regular work in such a tense atmosphere. After a short while, I was called by Michael to a meeting room. There, I found Michael, Elizabeth, and Olivia, who had also been summoned. "Thank you for your courage in speaking up earlier." Elizabeth thanked me. "I'm sorry for the way I exposed the issue. It was rather rough." "Well, it was indeed a bit rough. While Tyler is to blame, you did demean your direct supervisor in front of the board." "Indeed, that's true." While it may seem like Tyler was entirely at fault, an accusation without following the proper procedures can be perceived as mere slander or gossip. To adhere to the company's rules, there should have been an established protocol to address such issues. But Elizabeth, enduring harassment and finally speaking out in such a drastic way is understandable. Olivia interjected in my defense. "Indeed, that's why we won't reprimand him this time, and being multilingual like that is quite a talent," Elizabeth complimented. Her recognition of my abilities was genuinely heartening. "So, Jacob, we'd like you to join the major project we mentioned earlier, along with Olivia." Olivia and I were both surprised. In fact, Olivia's reaction was even louder than mine. As for Jacob, as we said earlier, the board members consider him a great talent and want him to participate. Olivia was the only employee, other than the board members, who understood and supported what Jacob said. Indeed, Olivia had understood my words and even backed me up. If I'm considered a talent, then Olivia should receive equal recognition. "Me too?" Olivia asked, her voice trembling like a small animal. "Of course, we really want you both on board," Elizabeth reassured her, holding her hand. The project was global in scale, necessitating multilingual skills. "I might not be as skilled as Jacob, but I can speak about 8 languages well enough for tourism," Olivia said enthusiastically, rolling up her sleeves. Olivia, it seems, also enjoys traveling and began learning languages to communicate with locals. She finds joy in understanding the various backgrounds of the places through their languages. I admired Olivia's attitude of not just sightseeing but wanting to understand the culture and history of the places she visits, and I found myself wanting to know more about her. After Michael and Elizabeth outlined the project, I agreed to participate, and things progressed swiftly. I soon started working jointly with people from the headquarters. Thanks to Michael's arrangement, I was paired with Olivia. It was thought that working with a colleague on this first major project might be smoother than pairing with someone I didn't know. Once We had a business meeting with a salesman from an Italian company. True to his Italian roots, he praised Olivia and even tried to flirt with her. What's with this guy? We're in the middle of work. Is this typical for Italians? The passion of their country is something else. Olivia, seemingly unaccustomed to being flirted with, looked a bit troubled. I said lightly, "This is a business meeting, so please keep it professional," but he showed no intention of stopping. I didn't want to be too forceful and risk jeopardizing the deal. However, watching Olivia being flirted with so closely and having her hand held, I found myself inexplicably irritated. I intervened between them, saying with a firm smile, "I am the main contact here. Please direct your attention to me." The salesman chuckled, saying, Okay, I'll cool it." After that, he stopped bothering Olivia, and the business deal was successfully concluded. As we were about to leave, the Italian salesman suddenly put his arm around my shoulder. "Hey brother, you should just be honest and go for it," he suggested. He said this with a shy smile. "What are you talking about?" I asked, puzzled. "Hey brother, your face is all red. You really thought you could hide it," the salesman said, chuckling as he left. Even when I got home, I kept thinking about the cheerful salesman's words. Just be honest. Since the meeting room incident, I had become acutely aware of Olivia. I thought my feelings were just admiration, nothing more. But seeing another man make advances towards her during the negotiation, my heart felt strangely agitated. I guess I must like Olivia. I felt a bit of regret. Not for falling for her, but for being made aware of my feelings by that carefree Italian salesman. Realizing it because someone else pointed it out made me feel like a grade schooler. Realizing my feelings for her made every little thing she did stand out to me. Had she always smiled so adorably? I pondered over how charming her expressions were every day. Our shared interests and conversations were so enjoyable, it was undeniable. "I've noticed you always watching her. Is that really how it is?" While eating in the cafeteria, I overheard the conversation of employees sitting behind me. "Yes, I suppose so. Young love is so cute." That voice sounds familiar. Should I just go and tell them? Maybe I should play Cupid. Don't meddle. Go for it, Elizabeth. Be the Cupid of love. I knew these two would actually do it. I had to stop them. "Please don't bother with unnecessary things," I protested. It was Elizabeth and Michael behind me. Since that incident, they had been strangely involved with me. I never knew Michael had such a playful side. Despite their teasing, I worked earnestly. Maybe even more so because of Olivia. I wanted to show her my best side. Thanks to our efforts, the major project we were part of was a success. At the celebration, everyone was enjoying the meal with joyful faces. I looked around the venue for Olivia but couldn't find her. Thinking she might have stepped outside, I opened the door to the lobby. There was Olivia. With Tyler. I hid and eavesdropped on their conversation. "Are you sure about this? You might not be able to return for years," Tyler said, no longer in his usual sarcastic tone, but genuinely concerned for his subordinate. Since then, Tyler had stopped belittling others based on their education. I felt uneasy and couldn't bring myself to approach them, so I continued to listen secretly. "I can believe you volunteered for an overseas transfer." An overseas transfer? This was news to me. I knew our company had recently established a new branch in a different region. But her volunteering for a transfer was unexpected. And she had requested it herself. "Are you sure about this? You might not be able to return for years." Olivia simply responded, "I'm aware of everything." After Tyler left, I approached Olivia. "Are you really going overseas?" Olivia looked surprised at my question. Sorry, I was eavesdropping, I admitted. I've always planned to work abroad, and this time, they asked for volunteers. I decided to take the chance. This project's success pushed me forward. She explained, her face shining. I don't plan to stay there forever. I want to build a home in America. It's just a step for self-improvement. It sounds cool when I say it, she said with a smile I loved. After a moment of hesitation, I said, looking straight at her, there's something I want you to hear. I like you. She looked up at me with wide eyes. I don't want to be apart, but I want to support you in your work, so, can I visit you sometimes? I said, scratching my cheek. In moments like this, I get frustrated at myself for not being able to say something more clever. But she responded by embracing me with a beaming smile. Definitely. You must come to visit me. I hugged her back. A month later, Olivia left for overseas. I might have felt only sadness before, but now it was different. I trusted her, and she trusted me. Olivia reports that her work is challenging but fulfilling. Her updates about various happenings outside of work, both the big and small moments, I find endearing. She wears a ring, and I have its matching pair on my finger. I thought the promise rings might be too much, but Olivia accepted them happily. At times when I feel lonely, I'll look at this and cheer up, she said with a smile at the airport, making me realize once again how precious and dear she is to me. Wearing the same rings, even when we are apart, I feel like our hearts are connected. Right now, I'm planning various things, lying on my bed. I've decided to travel to meet Olivia. The excitement of seeing her outweighs the anxiety of visiting an unknown place. Thinking about how to greet her, or what kind of stories will make her happy, brings a smile to my face. I've always enjoyed traveling, but this trip seems to be the most exciting one yet. It's not about where you go, but who you go with. That saying really rings true. It's all your fault. Your troubles made our daughter sick. Bring her back to me. My father-in-law, Keith, had shouted angrily through the funeral home. The next moment, I felt a dull pain on my left cheek and lost my balance, falling to the floor. Keith had struck me on the cheek. It's because you bankrupted the company. That's why Emily had to work so hard and got sick. He towered over me, continuing his yelling. Sitting on the floor, holding my painful cheek, I pondered. Maybe he was right. I became president of a small food processing company left by my father at age 30. But 10 years later, the company's performance rapidly worsened and eventually went bankrupt. At that time, the company had a huge debt. I immediately started a new job, but my earnings weren't enough to pay off the debts, so my wife, Emily, 8 years younger, also worked full-time to support our family while caring for our 3 children. We shared household and child care duties, but with young children, there was always much to do, from school drop-offs and pickups, to attending to them when sick, to preparing meals, cleaning, and doing laundry. Even at home, there was never a moment of rest. Raising 3 kids while working was extremely tough. And since I often had more overtime work, the burden of childcare and housework fell more on Emily. This life continued for about 8 years, until Emily collapsed from overwork 3 months ago. At the hospital, blood tests revealed abnormalities, and we were told, unfortunately, it's quite advanced, and there's nothing more we can do. When Dr. Johnson told me this, it felt like a cold shower had hit my heart. Blood drained from my face, and my legs went weak. I wished it was a dream, hoping desperately to wake up from it. Dr. Johnson, how much longer can Emily live? Perhaps 3 more months. 3 months, that's too short. I thought so. It wasn't enough time. I wanted more time with Emily. She was only 40 years old. We still had so many things to do together, so many places to go with the family. I couldn't hold back my tears. Our children were at a sensitive age, the eldest 14 and the youngest 10. I wondered how much they would grieve without their mother. I struggled with whether to inform them and Emily about her life expectancy. But, wanting her to live her remaining life without regrets and to prepare the children gradually for the shock, I decided to disclose it. Me, only 3 months to live. You're kidding, right? Tell me it's a lie. Initially, Emily laughed it off in disbelief, but when she realized it was true, her expression turned complex. Who jokes about such things? Don't worry, I'm sure I'll get better soon. She struggled to accept the reality, remaining brave without tears. Yes, I believe that too, but as things stand, I think we should tell the children about the prognosis. When I shared my thoughts, she contemplated for a while before agreeing. Yes, they need to be prepared. That was the first time Emily showed her tears. She must have felt helpless, imagining the children's grief. Michael, please, take good care of our children. My wife clung to my chest, sobbing. How sad it must have been for her, knowing she wouldn't see our beloved children grow up. From then on, I juggled work and visits to Emily's hospital to provide for our 3 children. I wished I could quit my job to spend every minute with her, but, drowning in debt, it was an impossible dream. Emily must have felt so lonely. I had caused her so much trouble, failed to notice her illness until it was too late, and couldn't even be by her side in her final moments. What a failure of a husband I am. It's no wonder Keith hit me. He raised Emily alone and never wanted her to suffer. As I hung my head in these thoughts, an incident occurred. I don't want to see your face. Do you realize how much my daughter suffered because of you? This isn't a joke. Keith, consumed by anger, grabbed a cup and threw cold water at me. Father, please stop, a firm voice echoed through the funeral home. It was Emily's younger sister, Sarah, 2 years younger than her. She rushed in, standing between us. How can you do this? Emily's passing isn't Michael's fault. Don't take out your grief on him. Sarah. Keith looked at her, his expression complex. But Sarah, he bankrupted his company, drowned in debt, and made Emily suffer. Her life was miserable because of him. He argued back. But Sarah responded strongly. That's not true. Don't assume Emily was unhappy. She was happy with Michael. She shouted, pulling out her phone from her purse. Read this. It shows how happy she was. She operated her phone and handed it to him. What's this? It's Emily's social media. She posted her thoughts there every day. Keith stared at the screen, his hands trembling. Tears fell from his eyes. Emily, he whispered and wiped his eyes. What was written there? Curious, I timidly asked. May I see it too? Then Keith stood next to me, showing me the phone screen. It read as follows. Tonight, it took an hour and a half to put the kids to bed, but lying with them is pure bliss, especially in winter. Cuddling up to their warm bodies, I feel a deep warmth inside. Their sleeping faces are angelic, so adorable, and just looking at them is healing. Juggling work and parenting 3 kids is tough, but my children are adorable, and I find joy in my job every day. Staying connected to society, even as a mother, is something I'm grateful for. I often hear my stay-at-home mom friends talk about feeling lonely or wanting an escape from parenting. I'm fortunate to find a balance between work and parenting. I'm so grateful for my husband leading the way in housework and parenting. Without him, I wouldn't have this happiness. The debt repayment is tough, but we're managing it together, and we should be able to afford our children's future education. Our eldest son stopped attending school. He couldn't make friends and was scared of talking to people. Michael took a day off to chalk to the school. There's a support room for students who struggle in the classroom. For now, he'll attend there. He finds it easier to talk to Michael, maybe because they're both male. Michael listened so kindly and carefully. Our son felt reassured. I'm thankful for Michael. He's truly reliable. Every day is busy but fulfilling and fun. Just seeing my family's faces makes my heart feel lively. I love my family. No matter how late Michael comes home from work, he always listens to me intently. Just talking to him relieves my mood. Seeing his smile heals my work stress. It's like magic. Today, I was told I have 3 months to live. At first, it felt unreal, like it wasn't about me. But thinking about leaving my family brought uncontrollable tears. I don't want to be apart from them. I want to be with Michael and the kids much longer, but that is not possible. Happy memories flooded my mind like a movie. Loved by Michael and the kids, I believe my life was truly happy. To Michael, thank you for meeting me and marrying me. Because of you, I had a happy life. I'm grateful. I wish we could have been together longer, but please forgive me for leaving you and the kids first. I'll always wish for your happiness. If you find a wonderful woman, don't hesitate to remarry, but please don't forget about me. Remember our first day by the sea, the words you said during the proposal, how you were the first to cry at our wedding, our honeymoon in France, the times we took the kids to the zoo, our picnics in the park, and making cakes together on birthdays. All these memories are precious to me. I won't forget them, so please, don't you forget either. Reading this, I couldn't hold back and covered my face with my hands, crying. After that were messages to each of our children and Emily's parents and sister. Emily asked me to let family read this after she passed. Sarah said, I was going to show it after the funeral, when everyone had calmed down, but you see, Father, Emily wasn't unhappy. She was happy with Michael, right? Yes, that's true. Keith nodded, wiping away tears. Sorry, Michael, for hitting you. I truly regret it. Can you forgive me? He apologized to me. It's okay, Father. I understand your grief. Losing someone dear can be unbearable. I thought I was to blame for Emily's death. But Emily wouldn't have wanted that. She wanted me to be happy. I had to live looking forward, not back. Can you forgive me, after what I did? I'm so sorry. You're a kind person, Michael. That's why Emily was happy with you. Keith said, wiping his tear-soaked face. Though my cheek hurt from being hit, humans make mistakes. He was remorseful, so I had to forgive him. As Emily would have wanted. I knew he was a kind and gentle person, so I decided to forget the incident. I shook his hand firmly. Seeing this, Sarah also cried. Our 3 children, seated in the family section, hugged each other and wept. It would take time to heal from this grief. But for Emily's last wish, we had to be happy. I just wanted to be glad that Emily's life was happy. In the end, she passed away peacefully, holding my and our children's hands. She lay in the coffin, peaceful as she had been in her final moments. Though we were parting from her physical presence, she would surely watch over us from above. So I, too, will always remember her. I will protect the children with my life, as she would have wanted. Thank you for loving and supporting me. I silently told Emily's portrait. She seemed to smile back, responding to my words. A week after the funeral, our eldest son, who had been skipping school, started going again. I don't want to make Mom in heaven sad, so I'll try my best. I feel like I can do it if I think she's cheering for me. That's great, Tom. Do your best. Mom would be proud. Talk to me about anything, okay? Our children were slowly growing stronger, overcoming their mother's death. Emily would continue to watch over us from within our hearts. I'll work hard not to worry you. I promised myself, vowing to live positively for the kids and for Emily.